Welcome to the first episode of Morgan's Point of View, where we talk movies, TV, sports, and other pop culture topics I'm interested in. I'm Morgan. This episode, we're talking about the Cowboys documentary that dropped on Netflix recently and NFL Week 1 and 2. First, I wanted to start with some latest news, hot topics. Robert Redford unfortunately passed away at age 89. He was most known for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting. He was a trailblazer in the movie industry. When you write the story of movies, you cannot exclude him. He was very, very an important part, instrumental part. I watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting like a year ago. I thought those were great movies with Paul Newman in them, and they were just really, really good. He was excellent at what he did. It's unfortunate, his passing, and my thoughts are with his family. The Emmys were on Sunday night, the biggest night in TV, I would say still. I think the Emmys are the most prestigious TV awards still. Award shows, not really my thing anymore, because the host has a joke, they pan to the crowd, and nobody really reacts. And it's always very awkward, so I don't like it. But I like to keep up with it. I like to see my people who I thought had a great year in television get their awards and get their due. I thought the biggest story of the night to me was Tremel Tillman picking up Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. He's the first Black man ever to do that. It's crazy that in 2025 we're still talking about first Black man too, and still making history in that regard. That's unfortunate to me, but Tremel Tillman, Mr. Miltrick and Severance earned that. There was no doubt in my mind when I saw season 2. And it was really the first couple episodes of season 2 that he was getting the award, like that he was getting the Emmy, because there was just nobody better than him in the supporting role in 2025. He stole every scene he was in as Mr. Miltrick. I think Severance season 2, his storyline specifically, it was kind of understated. It wasn't the top storyline, but what a Black person goes through in the workplace set, and it was understated, but if you got it, you got it. And I think they did a great thing of showing it, but not telling it too much. And you know, he's a person who has such faith in Keir. That's, if you don't watch Severance, like the person who thought of this whole corporation, this whole brand that basically runs the world. And, you know, he has such faith in him, but then he turns out like, am I supposed to be treated like this? He's treated so terribly in the workplace. So to see that, and I learned so much about him through season 2, his character, Mr. Milchick, but there's still so much more to go. Like, I know him, but I really don't know him at all. And I think that's an exciting component of season 3 coming up. Britt Lauer, also from Severance, Helly R., Helena, winning Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. Great. She was great in this role. I remember the discourse around, like, the first couple episodes of season 2 when it dropped, when you didn't know if that was Helly R., or if that was Helen, like you really didn't know, and it was debated, and she plays the distinction between the two so great. They're both such layered characters, and that's a testament to the writing of the show, which I think is also so incredible. Her acting all the way through to that mind-boggling decision in episode 10. Great show, and she definitely deserves that role. Now, switching gears a little bit, Noah Wyle wins Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Now, he is the Pitt main character. He wrote on that show. He executive produced that show. The Pitt is HBO's show. It's a drama, a medical drama. But the twist of it is each episode is 1 hour of this one shift. So it's him. He's running the ED, which they call the Pitt. And very, very entertaining. It also is like a window to old TV and old like medical procedural dramas. So to see this get its due is important to me, because I think cable TV has kind of fallen to the wayside when it comes to awards and stuff like that because of the prestige TV model that we have now. And so to see Noah Wyle, the Pitt, that type of show get awards is it's great to me. And also the drama of the show is really them trying to save lives. Like, that was also very interesting, and you learn more about their characters through them trying to save these people's lives. Very, very entertaining show. Definitely deserved for Noah Wyle. Now, the Pitt wins Best Drama, and this caused discourse because Severance is also in that category. and they lost to the Pitt. Now, a lot of people disagreed with this choice because these were the top two shows of 2025. It was the Pitt versus Severance. One of these two shows was going to win. And so, to me, I was like, okay, I love Severance as a show, but I love what the Pitt represents and what it means for TV as a whole. So I was excited for the Pitt to win. I think it's an amazing show. And the Pitt's getting a season 2. Severance is getting a season 3. We're going to be back here next year. So it's really okay to me. And I think the Pitt is a great choice. Owen Cooper wins Best Supporting Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series. He's the youngest male ever to win an Emmy at 15 years old. He's in Adolescence. This show is a British limited series. It's 4 episodes. Each episode, no cuts. It's one take. And if you mess up, you got to go back to the start. You got to go back to the beginning. And I think that's an interesting challenge to do. But I think what the show was trying to do, and it's this kid who does something heinous, right? And they don't go and they don't uncover like evidence and stuff. They just, he did it. And so you go back and you see the influences in his life and why he ended up doing what he did. And that was such a groundbreaking premise for a show. I think it's something that they should show in schools because the culture right now, it needs it. And I'm glad this show delivered that. Owen Cooper, amazing work. I still remember the scene with him in the psychiatrist who comes to see if they're medically competent, and they had a scene, and it still sticks in my mind. I think it's an amazing show. I think that's awesome for Owen Cooper to win. A lot of people are discounted for their age when it comes to award races, so to see him get this, very, very cool. I think big things are on the horizon. Krista Milotti winning Outstanding Leading Actress in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. She plays Sophia Falcone in The Penguin. Loved The Penguin. I'm a big DC Comics fan, so when this came out, I was seated. Like, I was watching all 8 episodes. I think it's great. I think her role, again, was another, like, layered, deep role. She gets put in Arkham Asylum for a crime her father did. Her father then pinned it on her. So she kind of has to accept going into Arkham Asylum. I just gotta be what they say I am, because this place is crazy and I don't know if I'll survive here. So she took that role, and then she gets out, and her interactions with Oz, the Penguin, and Colin Farrell and hers acting against each other, opposite each other, was great. It was amazing. It really stood out. She was amazing in this. I'm glad she got the awards. Those were the biggest stories of the Emmys to me. Very, very deserved. Paramount is potentially buying Warner Brothers. News around the industry. Wall Street Journal first reported this. To me, this is going to be bad if they do. David Zaslav, who was the head of Warner Brothers, was talking about, or it was rumored that he was shopping Warner Brothers around to get sold to another movie studio, right? And so Paramount is just, that would be bad, right? It's too many conflict of interest. They are gearing up to try to take on Netflix and Disney and be one of those big figures. And buying Warner Brothers would do that. I think Warner Brothers has had an amazing year. Multiple hits. Sinners, Superman, the Minecraft movie made a whole bunch of money. So them getting bought would be really bad. I think there's a whole bunch of conflict of interest with streaming. Are they folding HBO Max and Paramount Plus? Like, there would be a whole bunch of questions that I don't want to happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, on the sports side, Joe Burrow needs toe surgery. He got the toe surgery. He's going to be out 3 months. Very, very disappointing. I want to see Joe Burrow compete with these other top quarterbacks, and he just never gets a chance to. Whether either his team's bad or he's injured, something always happens. So that's very, very sad. Hopefully these 3 months go by quick. They get a quarterback and he can jump in for the playoffs. We'll see. Going into our main topic, America's Team, the Gambler, and his Cowboys. This is an 8-episode Netflix sports doc directed by Chapman and McLean Way. The series chronicles the Dallas Cowboys' rise to dominance in the 1990s under owner Jerry Jones. Now, my experience with Netflix sports docs, I watched Formula One Drive to Survive. That got me into Formula One. And, WWE Unreal, That was a sports doc that Netflix dropped. Netflix is very, very good with their sports documentaries. It's a niche that they've kind of perfected at this point to me. Like, every time they drop one, they had a SEC one not too long ago, Any Given Saturday. Very, very good. So I had high expectations. Now, with the Cowboys, my kind of experience with them as a team is that they've been bad. They've been bad my whole life. I kind of knew about the 90s era a little bit. I remember Deion Sanders in a Cowboys uniform, and like that was during the 90s. So that was kind of the only reference that I had. I knew some players. I knew Troy Aikman just because of his commentary work, and I knew he was a quarterback. And somehow along the way I put together that he was on the Cowboys. So I knew some stuff, didn't know a lot. This doc definitely afforded me on it, though. Now, my opening thoughts on it, pacing, very, very good. From episodes 1 to 8, there was a lot of content in each, but everything was concise and understandable. Once I jumped into episode 1, they were kind of moving timelines. It would be past, present, all of that. But I thought everything was clear. Everything had a great understanding. They got some great interviews, great access. That's one thing that you can count on with Netflix. They're going to give you they're going to have great access. Like, everybody who was a big player in this story got interviewed, and they interviewed people, journalists in the time, Skip Bayless, stuff like that. So it was really great in that way. And the drama, really good drama from episodes 1 to 8. Always had me intrigued. Loved it. Here are some of my main takeaways. Now, the first episode we find out Cowboys were America's team before Jerry. Before Jerry even bought the team, they were America's team. They were a blue collar, like, let's work team. America loved them. They had a down year in the 80s, I believe. So they were bad for like 10 years. And then Jerry bought the team. Now, in these 8 episodes, we learned a lot about Jerry Jones as a person. And the one thing that stuck out to me is that he's a stubborn guy. He's going to stay on what he believes. If you cross him, he'll remember it for years and years to come, and he won't forgive you. Like, he'll maybe forgive you years and years and years down the line, but he's going to remember that forever. And I think that in some ways it helped. It creates a us versus them mentality that I think probably players and other staff gravitates to. But when it happens in your own house, like in the Dallas Cowboys organization, that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. And it was a his way or the highway type of guy. Like, if you don't like me, cool, we'll send you out the door. The Herschel Walker trade is a perfect example of that. I think the Herschel Walker trade defines the Cowboys in many ways as a team that set them up, but it also destroyed them in a way because it changed Jerry and Jimmy Johnson, the Cowboys' coach during the dynasty, in a major, major way. Also, for me, there was so many similarities between the Cowboys and the Showtime Lakers, the Cowboys in the 90s and the Showtime Lakers, and Jerry and the Buss family, that, like, I was like, wow, it's like watching that, but in the 90s. It's so interesting to me. Both were about spectacle. Jerry was like, this blue collar thing is cool, but I want bright lights, big city, spectacle. Everybody comes to see the Dallas Cowboys play. It's a year-round soap opera, which he said multiple times throughout this documentary. It's a year-round soap opera. It's a year-round soap opera. That's what he wanted it to be. That's the culture he cultivated. And the Lakers are the same. They were the first ones to have, I'm going to have the celebrities court sign. I'm going to have the cheerleaders. We're in Los Angeles. It's a big, big deal. And the Buss family and Jerry Jones were similar in that way. I think where they diverge in a way is the Buss family was worried about the spectacle, and they let the basketball thing into Jerry West's hands. That was their domain. They would approve stuff, but they didn't. Up top, they cared about the spectacle of it. I think Jerry Jones really wanted his hand in all the buckets, so player personnel, all of that. He just wanted to be involved in everything, and that's where they diverge, and I think that's why the Lakers kind of were always retooling and revamping, and the Cowboys just never did after the 90s, so. The dynasty lasts a total of 4 years. Throughout this documentary, I was like, wow, that's such a short amount of time. Like, it almost felt like the build of the dynasty lasted longer than the actual dynasty itself, which is always very interesting. But at the same time, it's timeless. Like, because people care about these Cowboys so much because of the 90s. Like, that really made people care about it. It's everybody wants to be a Cowboys fan. The Cowboys are America's team, and it was kind of off the back of this 90s dynasty. But it was short. It was 4 years, and they haven't been good since. But it still weighs on people's mind heavily. So that's why I feel like it's timeless in that way. I was also sitting there watching the stock thinking, Cowboys really haven't been good since this. Like, that was an insane thing to really see because, again, like I was talking about with the Lakers, they retool. So you had Magic Johnson, Jabbar, and then you had Kobe Bryant and Shaq in that era. And then you had LeBron winning that one ring. So it was multiple eras and multiple times. But the Cowboys, it was really just the times before Jerry and then the 90s, and then that's it. So that's very, very interesting. As we go through this doc, the coach changes were just ridiculous. Like, if the coach looked at Jerry the wrong way, they were getting replaced. I mean, it really is just his way or the highway, and the coaching changes just exemplify that to a T. The players also were crazy. Like, after the Super Bowl wins, I've never seen a team domino so fast, like, watching from this documentary. Like, they were just acting crazy. So we'll go episode by episode here. I'm going to go the first 4 episodes and the last 4, because the first 4 was building the dynasty and getting to this point. So Jerry Jones buys the Cowboys. He gets his family to help run it. I don't know how I feel about family business. I don't know how that works, but Jerry Jones brought his family along for the ride. His son and his daughter help run the team. It kind of seems like his son is like his right-hand man, like, along with every personnel. And it feels like his daughter was more like marketing, stuff like that. So that was interesting there. The first move he does, and he gets the Cowboys fans, like, riled up already and on his bad side. He buys the team. People don't believe in him because he is from Arkansas. He is not from Texas. He fires Tom Landry, Hall of Fame coach, but he's getting kind of complacent. The doc shares, and Mike Irvin was saying, like, it was kind of like a who cares attitude, So Jimmy Johnson, that's who Jerry wants to hire, right? They were college teammates. They played college football together. Jimmy Johnson ended up coaching University of Miami when Mike Irvin was there. Mike Irvin's on the team. Like, it all just made sense, right? And so they go to Tom's favorite Mexican restaurant, Tom Landry's favorite Mexican restaurant, Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones. And they're sitting there eating. And in this documentary, they were like, yeah, we didn't think we'd get seen. It's Dallas, Texas. They already explained in the documentary the culture around this football team. Everybody in Dallas loves this football team. Like, and you didn't think they would take a picture of you there at the restaurant? That was an insane thing to me. It's like, they just did Tom Landry terrible in this, and they said they had a parade for Tom Landry that felt like a funeral. Most of the journalists in this documentary are saying it's very, very unfortunate. That's how this Jerry Jones era starts off. The Herschel Walker trade happens, and the idea of this trade is you trade Herschel Walker, who was the best player on this team, the only player who was really doing something. You trade him, you get 4 players, you cut those players, and then you get draft picks in return. So that was their plan. Now, this kind of changed the Cowboys team and their culture forever. They get Troy Aikman, they get Emmitt Smith. Like, they hit almost on every draft pick. And so it becomes a credit dispute. Later down the line, it's like, who really did this Herschel Walker trade? I'm going to tell you my theory up front now. Jimmy Johnson did that trade, in my opinion. It just makes more sense that he did it. His version of, I was running with the coaches. We thought, what about trading Herschel Walker? What I do think Jerry Jones did, I did think he went out on the limb and said, yes, let's do that. But there was always disputes of, is Jimmy Johnson the GM? Is Jerry Jones the GM? I feel like Jimmy Johnson did most of the football personnel stuff, in my opinion. Jimmy Johnson is like a tough coach. He's hard-nosed. He's micromanaging every drill, getting the tempo right. He yells. It's not a lot of pats on the back, from what the players were talking about, and that kind of created some friction between him and the team. Troy Aikman, Jimmy Johnson, they start to butt heads. Troy gets injured. They let their backup in the game, and their backup starts to win some games. They go into the playoffs. He starts to win some games. Troy doesn't get in. They end up losing. So the backup QB's Linsanity run is over, and it was awkward. Troy and Jimmy then kind of get a bond over like fish in the aquarium and stuff, and so they end up getting that fixed and building for this dynasty. The Cowboys and the 49ers was a big thing in this documentary. It's like each is like a mountain to climb. So when the Cowboys are up, the 49ers got to climb that mountain. When the 49ers are up, the Cowboys got to climb that mountain. So at this point in time, the 49ers were the hot team. They were the team of the 80s. Jerry Rice, Steve Young coming in for Joe Montana at this time. And the Cowboys end up beating them, and that kicks off their dynasty. They go on to win against the Buffalo Bills, which, hearing that the Buffalo Bills lost 4 straight Super Bowls, I don't know how you as a fan can like handle losing 4 straight Super Bowls. That would drive me insane. Bills fans, though, they stay strong, I guess. They stuck through, which I definitely wouldn't. The Cowboys end up going back-to-back, beating the Buffalo Bills twice, and they become pop culture icons. They're in all the commercials. They're the team of the 90s now, and so they're on top. But behind the scenes, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson are having a bunch of disagreements. They used to be kind of tight. Jerry would act like him and Jimmy were best friends, and it kind of seemed that way in the documentary. But then you kind of look behind the scenes, they're arguing. I think Jimmy Johnson did not respect Jerry Jones' football acumen, which is what they were saying in this documentary. And Jones can't handle that. He needs credit. People are starting to credit Jimmy, and he's like, you need to like set this straight. Actually, I did the Jerry Jones. I did the trade, you know? And so he wanted that credit. And so this all comes to a head at Disney. Like, this was the off season after they won those back-to-back Super Bowls. Jerry comes up to Jimmy Johnson and the other coaches like, toast to our Super Bowl win. And then Jimmy doesn't do it. So that's when it happens. Jerry Jones walks over to the reporter like, you leaving? You're about to miss the biggest story of the year. And so that goes back to that year-round soap opera stuff. Like, this was one of those off-season soap opera bits that happened. And so I think Jimmy should have just toasted. It's not that big of a deal. Toast him. I think he just didn't respect him at that point. And at that point, Jerry Jones goes to the reporters and says 500 coaches could win the Super Bowl with this team. That's insane to say, and kind of discounts everything Jimmy Johnson did. So they realized we can't work together. They tried to, like, in interviews during the second Super Bowl run, be like, yeah, we're actually good. We're actually okay. But yeah, they weren't. Jimmy leaves the Cowboys. At this point in the documentary, I'm like, you let somebody who won back-to-back Super Bowls leave your team over your ego. And then he gets Barry Windsor to join the Cowboys and become the head coach. Barry and Jimmy have a bit of a history. They coached rival colleges, and so it was just a way to get back at Jimmy Johnson, basically. And Barry had been out the game for a minute. He stopped coaching college because of some controversy with like some of the football players on the team. And so Jerry brings Barry out of retirement to coach this team. Bringing somebody out of retirement to coach a Super Bowl championship team is insane. And so you can tell it's an attitude shift. Barry is so much different than Jimmy. Like, you can just see it in the way he talks, the backstage, the interview clips. He's such like a whimsical guy. Like, he's whimsy, he's fun. If you don't come to practice, it's okay. Just be ready for the game. So he really, really didn't care. And while all this is happening, you hear these tales of the White House, which is Mike Irving's thing. That's where the Cowboys will go. It's behind the training facility where they practice. And they're just doing all types of anything you can think of that's terrible and you're not supposed to do. They were doing it there. Illegal substances, all that. So when that comes out, I'm like, well, that's gonna blow up in their faces eventually. They had a fixer, think like Olivia Pope, like a fixer comes in, fixes stuff for them. And so you knew that would blow up. So all that's happening, plus a coach who's kind of laid back. It was just a recipe for disaster, I think. And then the first like real domino to fall was Barry and Troy Aikman's relationship falling apart. They've known each other since Troy was a kid, apparently. But since Barry was a good guy, like he's going to pat the team on the back, he's not going to yell, Troy Aikman had to step in and be that role that Jimmy Johnson was, and so Troy could be the good guy. So in this situation, he had to change. He had to be the bad guy. He had to yell at the team. And you see that start to affect him a lot. I'm sure if my quarterback was always yelling at me, like my teammates always yelling at me, like I'm not going to mess with them anymore. Like, why are you always yelling at me? Isn't that the coach's job? And so that started an issue. Troy yells at a player. The player happens to be black, as they explain in the documentary. Barry Windsor calls him into his office like, you need to apologize. And then he's like, are you racist or something like that? Basically insinuating that Troy Aikman was racist. That destroys their relationship forever. It never gets repaired. And so the Cowboys are kind of limping along with that. The locker room is basically in civil war, and they're limping along. And so the Cowboys start to get in trouble. An old lineman crashes their car, and so that ends. They lose. They don't go to the Super Bowl that year when Barry takes over because of that injury, is what they were basically saying. Like, they needed their own lineman. He's not there. They didn't win. And, players just getting in trouble left and right. And Deion Sanders comes in because the 49ers played the Cowboys. They ended up winning that game, the 49ers. And so the way they present Deion Sanders in the show was probably one of my favorite parts of the documentary. Like, they treat him like he's a mystical creature that like can't be beaten. I can't throw to that side of the field. He's so athletic. He's faster than everybody. He was given great quotes. Like, he was actually one of the best parts of the documentary, I think. And the way he was presented in the show was hilarious. I loved it. And so Deion Sanders ends up, after the 49ers move on and beat the Cowboys, he ends up signing with the Cowboys because Jerry Jones really wanted it to happen. They pay him so much money. Jerry Jones' son, kind of disagrees with it, but they go along with it. Now, they end up going on a little bit of a run, winning games, and Jerry Jones does something crazy again. So he starts doing this marketing thing. Like, the Cowboys are with Nike, but the league is with like another company. So he would do these side deals that was not supposed to be what the NFL did. Owners were mad. Everybody's in an uproar. NFL sues him. He countersues. It was a whole big thing, and that was a storyline running throughout that season, the season after they lost, so en route to their third Super Bowl. And so my thoughts on this is like, I don't know. It seems like it was trailblazing because now every NFL team does this. He ends up winning the suit, so every team does this. He ends up having a deal with Fox, who was an up-and-coming network at the time, and he gets the NFL to partner with Fox. They pay a whole bunch of money and TV rights for them to get, for Fox to get the NFL, and that ends up working out and paying off. So he does some great stuff behind the scenes to grow the Cowboys' brand and basically get his money back for what he paid for this team. And so everybody's just, and then they win the Super Bowl, and it feels like it was a relief. They were saying, like, yes, we finally got this third Super Bowl. We didn't think we was going to get it. So they get it. And then the offseason after that, Mike Irving gets arrested for an illegal substance, and that kicks off the end of this dynasty. It like tumbles so quickly. It falls apart very, very quickly. He ends up getting on probation, and then training camp, I believe it was. So he was doing good for a bit. And then in training camp, a rookie was like getting his hair cut, and he says, Mike Irving says, like, this is my time. I'm a veteran. So he wants him to get up. Him and the O-lineman start fighting. The O-lineman's beating him up. He grabs scissors and stabs the O-lineman in the neck, which was crazy. And then he faces no consequences because everybody was like, we didn't see it. The person who who got injured. I didn't see it. So nothing ends up happening with that. But that's just a crazy story, and it kind of shows the state of the Cowboys and what was going on and how mismanaged it was for that. Like, that's insane. But anyways, injuries start coming up. So Mike Irvin injures his neck. Deion Sanders ends up leaving to another team. Troy Aikman gets concussion, so he's out. And so all this happened, and it was like, oh, y'all aren't making it. They fire Barry. They get a new coach or something after. Like, it falls apart. It never feels the same again after Mike Irvin's arrest. That was the, like, inflection point that kicked off this whole falling down the mountain, which is very, very, like, sad that it happened with that. Especially, like, that was something, like, he could control. Like, he didn't have to do what he was doing. And so that started that off. Emmitt Smith was kind of the last person to stick around and stay with the team. He becomes the all-time leading rusher. And then after that, I think this was, like, the season after he became that, he goes to the Arizona Cardinals. And Jerry Jones, he walks out, and he, like, this is what Emmitt Smith's account. He walks out, and he's, like, crying over Emmitt Smith leaving. And so Emmitt Smith was like, he really does appreciate me, because if you go back to between their first and second Super Bowl, there was a contract dispute over Emmitt Smith. And that reminded me so much of the Micah Parsons situation now that I was like, Jerry really hasn't changed that much. Like, he's still doing the same stuff. He just didn't want to pay Emmitt Smith, who was the best running back and the reason they were winning. So Emmitt Smith sits out the first, like, 2 games of the season. They go 0-2 after winning the Super Bowl. So it shows his importance. And all of that, like, he was saying, Jerry in the documentary was like, I didn't have the money to pay him, but you came up with the money. So Emmitt Smith was asking for $15 million. He ended up getting $13.6 million, but it made him the leading running back, like the highest paid running back. So that was all he wanted, but it took pushing and pulling basically to get that deal done. And so Emmitt Smith always felt like maybe he doesn't really appreciate me that much. And so to see Jerry Jones cry made him be like, oh, okay, so they really do care about me. He really does care about me and appreciate my contributions. And so that was a cool, like, storybook ending on that. And he ends up going to the Arizona Cardinals. He comes back to play the Cowboys away, so he's at the Cowboy Stadium. And he's in the away locker room. He ends up crying because he realizes football and the Cowboys are tied together for him. He can't separate the two, so he retires. And that's that. Like, the dynasty's over. It's over as quickly as it began. Like, and really the reason why, I think, is the Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones fallout. Like, if that hadn't happened, I think they probably would have won 4 Super Bowls. I think they would have got over. I think they would have beat the 49ers again and not lost and then went to the Super Bowl and won. So it's really sad when you look back on it. Like, Jerry Jones did so much for the Cowboys brand. They ended up being, like, worth so much money, like billions and billions of dollars. So he did that in that 90s run, in that 4-year period. Like, he made as much money as he could off of the Cowboys name and branding. And he did a lot for that. I think this documentary was just so drama-filled from beginning to end, and it goes to show, like, you really don't know what's happening in these NFL locker rooms, especially during that time period behind the scenes. Like, everything was in disarray for a lot of this run. So for them to even get 3 Super Bowls out of it was great. Troy Aikman, Mike Irvin, Emmitt Smith was the big 3 of this era, and they, again, will be remembered. Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, it seems like they've kind of made up somewhat, so that's great. All in all, this was a great documentary. I was thoroughly entertained. I want Netflix to keep putting out these documentaries. Yeah, it's a great look at just, it combines my 2 interests of TV and sports in a very great and dynamic way. This documentary was amazing. So I want to shift gears. NFL week 1 and 2. Just some main takeaways. Simple stuff. The Chiefs, not looking great. It's not looking great over there. Patrick Mahomes is missing throws. Travis Kelce isn't catching the ball. A lot of their wide receiver 1 and 2 are, like, out injured, but it's just not looking great. I don't think it's. Listen, they're gonna make the playoffs, but I don't know if they do much this year at all. which that dynasty is pretty much over in my opinion. Looking at them and how they look. So either they retool with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. They will, I think, and they'll bounce back. They need to drive better. Well, here's the thing. They can get a good wide receiver. I think it's that O-line that's kind of struggling a bit. Xavier Worthy was a good pick for them. So they can draft well, and they have a great coach. So it seems like this season, though, it's a down year for them. I'm, stamping that. It's only week 2, but I'm stamping that. It's not going great. The Bills, it might be your year. Hey, if Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl, I will be excited. I'm ready to see some change. But again, if Philly wins, though, I'll be excited, too. I really like Jalen Hurts and what he's doing with his team. And I want to see the Bills in a Super Bowl type situation again, especially going and seeing the documentary I was talking about, and they're losing 4 straight Super Bowls. I want to see them in that Super Bowl situation again. So the Chargers look really great. Monday Night Football, they beat the Raiders. Justin Herbert looks like he finally is taking that next step. He's using his legs. I was watching the Chiefs game. I'm he's taking off and running. When the Chargers played the Chiefs in Brazil, he's running with the ball. He's throwing really, really good passes. He really doesn't throw interceptions too much at all. He's a really, really great player, and I think he's recognizing that, and I think he's taking that next step. The division, the Chiefs and Chargers division kind of shifted. The Raiders, I don't know what the Raiders are going to end up being, but I think the Chargers are going to be on top of that division for sure. Now, who do I think is making it to the Super Bowl? I kind of answered this, but the Bills, I think the Bills in Philadelphia again, or the Philadelphia will make it to the Super Bowl again, and I think the Bills will be the ones facing them. That's what I'm saying now. It's earliest week 2, but that's what I'm feeling in my heart right now. Now, Caleb Williams and the Bears, I wanted to speak on this because anytime a quarterback does poorly, I just feel bad. I really feel bad for them because you're taking all, especially if you're a number 1 pick, and you come in the first 2 years and you're not doing good, and you see the second pick and all these picks, they're doing good, like Jaden Daniels with the Commanders, you got to be oh, gosh, what do I even say? What do I even do? Caleb Williams, he has a new coach, and it's not looking great at all. Hopefully they turn it around, though. I'm rooting for Caleb Williams. I think he's very talented, but something's just not clicking over there. I feel awfully bad for DJ Moore, too. He's always getting overthrown and passes and stuff. They're in disarray over there with the Bears and that organization, but hopefully they fix it up. The Colts going 2-0 in this Daniel Jones resurgence is so funny to me. I don't know if it's real yet. I'm hesitant to call it real. But he looks much better than he did with the Giants. I don't know what it is about that Giants uniform. I don't know what's going on over there. But with the Colts, he's doing great. The Colts owner, she's always on the field and just seeing the environment and how her staff runs. I think that's that's a great idea. I think some people are gonna look down on it because owners, again, being on the field is kind of, people don't like that too much, being on the sidelines and stuff. But I think it's cool. She's just observing, and I think if I bought a team, I want to know the ins and outs and how everybody in that organization is doing. So I want to see what the Colts do moving forward with this Daniel Jones thing. Is it real? Who knows? Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I'm hoping they make a playoff run because there's some narratives out about Lamar Jackson that you can't defend, though. The narratives kind of ring true about him not being a playoff performer. I hope he proves me wrong in the NFL, and he proves all the doubters wrong in the playoffs. I really do hope he performs. I don't know, though. This season looks like it's going to be interesting. I feel like it's really up for grabs. I feel like there's no true, front runner, really in front of the pack. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this season shakes out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Morgan's Point of View Episode 1. A lot of great content, a lot of great episodes coming up for you about TV, movies. I saw The Long Walk, the movie, last week. So that'll probably be my next episode or review of that. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.